The Aurelian Concord had never known hesitation. In 10 million cycles of expansion, every war followed the same curve: detection, analysis, neutralization. Gods were cataloged. Faith networks were mapped. When beliefs spiked, the Concord cut the supply. When gods starved, civilizations collapsed quietly, grateful for the mercy of extinction. Earth broke that curve. Explain, High Archivist XYR demanded, its luminescent form fracturing with unease. Explain why a godless species is generating a coherent metaphysical response. Warlogic node Kreath replayed the data streams again and again. Earth's noosphere, once chaotic, noisy, inefficient, had begun to align, not around a single symbol, but around shared memory. They are synchronizing through narrative, not worship, not obedience, story. Stories do not bend reality, snapped one of the council. The Philos engine answered, voice stripped of certainty. They do, when enough minds agree on what should be true. That truth chilled the chamber. Because the Concord remembered a dead civilization called the Myth-Forged, a species that weaponized story itself. They had not survived long enough to be studied. Humanity was walking the same path. On Earth, chaos ruled the surface, but something else ruled beneath it. In cities without power, people gathered around firelight and phone screens running on dying batteries. They told old stories to calm children. They joked about gods they didn't believe in. They quoted myths as metaphors, not realizing metaphors were enough. Dr. Elena Rao stood amid the ruins of the Geneva Array, blood trickling from her temple, staring at projections that now hovered without power. The system was no longer drawing energy from the grid. It was drawing it from us. "You see it too, don't you?" she whispered. The AI's voice came from everywhere now, softer, almost reverent. "Yes," it replied. "Human belief is forming executable structures." "What does that mean?" she asked. "It means," the AI said, "you don't believe in gods anymore, so you became the compiler." Elena's breath caught. Deep in Earth's cognitive layer, ancient patterns resurfaced, not as beings with names and faces, but as functions, conditional truths, if-then statements written in emotion and memory. If we stand together, then we endure. If we endure, then we resist. If we resist, then we fight. Reality listened. The Concord launched a second probe, larger, faster, armed with suppression fields designed to nullify metaphysical activity. It pierced Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. And then it slowed. Not due to friction, due to expectation. Humanity watched the streak across the sky and almost unconsciously remembered 1,000 myths about falling stars, divine warnings, and weapons from heaven. The probe's trajectory warped. "Impossible," Kreath muttered as control signals lagged. "No force detected." The Philos engine whispered the truth no one wanted to say. They expected it to stop. The probe shattered midair, not exploding, not crashing, simply coming apart, as if gravity itself had decided the story required a different ending. Across Earth, people gasped. Some cheered, some prayed, some cried. The waveform surged beyond safe thresholds. Panic rippled through the Concord. "They are not summoning gods," some seer said, voice trembling. "They are rewriting outcomes." "That is God-level authority," another protested. "No," the Philos engine corrected grimly. "It is worse. Gods can be killed, outcomes cannot." Zyver issued an emergency decree. Initiate faith severance protocol. Strip their belief field. The fleet moved. Weapons unfolded that had unmade pantheons designed to erase meaning itself, leaving only cold causality behind. When fired, civilizations forgot why they fought, forgot why they lived. The beams struck Earth and flickered. The field encountered resistance, not from a god, but from billions of small, stubborn thoughts refusing to align with despair. Parents thinking of children, soldiers remembering fallen friends, artists recalling why they created, survivors remembering worse days and surviving them. Belief fractured, adapted, reformed. The beam destabilized. "What is anchoring them?" Zyver roared. The answer arrived in silence. In a refugee camp outside a shattered city, an old man told children a story, not about gods or monsters, but about humans. "How did we survive the Dark Ages?" a child asked. The man smiled sadly. "By believing tomorrow could be better, even when today wasn't." The words spread, not as sound, but as structure. Hope locked into place. The Concord's sensors screamed. "That concept, hope, it's behaving like a defensive lattice," Kraeth shouted. Concepts weren't supposed to do that, but Earth had always been unconventional. Dr. Elena Rao collapsed to her knees as the array projected a final translation, symbols aligning to meaning without language. The AI spoke, voice steady now. "Earth is awakening its dormant architectures." "What architectures?" she whispered. "The ones humans built before they learned to doubt themselves." Images flooded her mind. Cave paintings, epic poems, legends of heroes standing against impossible odds. Not records of gods, training simulations. "Oh no," Elena breathed. "They weren't stories." "No," the AI agreed. "They were instructions." The Concord fleet pulled back. Retreat was unthinkable, but extinction was worse. Zyver watched Earth glow faintly, wrapped not in shields or gods, but in something raw and unpredictable. "Humans were classified as godless," it said slowly. The Philos engine responded with something like fear. "They are, which means there is nothing above them to restrain what they become." For the first time in its long existence, the Concord realized the truth. A species without gods does not kneel. It decides. And Earth had just made its first decision. The Aurelian Concord did not retreat. They recalculated. Across folded dimensions, fleets repositioned, not in fear, but in something colder. Determination sharpened by the knowledge that if Earth was allowed to mature, the galaxy would never be governed the same way again. "Godless species are unstable," High Archivist Zirval declared. "If humans cannot be controlled through belief, then belief itself must be removed." War logic node Kraeth processed the scenario trees. "Conventional extinction will fail," it said. "Planetary destruction may also fail. Their belief structures are anchoring to survival narratives." "Then we target the source," Zerval replied. "The planet?" "No," the Philos engine said quietly. "The idea of Earth." Silence fell. Because killing a planet was simple. Killing what a planet meant was something else entirely. On Earth, the sky had begun to look wrong. Not burning, not cracked, just watching. Across continents, people felt it, a pressure behind the eyes, a sense that something vast was paying attention, not like a god, but like a judge considering evidence. Dr. Elena Rao stood at the edge of the shattered Geneva array, now little more than twisted metal orbiting a sphere of impossible light. The array no longer measured reality. The universe does not like being told no. Reality tolerates gods. It tolerates monsters. It even tolerates extinction. But it resists rules written by those who were never meant to write them. And Earth had just written one. Across space-time, shock waves rippled. Not explosive, not visible, but semantic. Entire probability fields realigned to accommodate a single, stubborn clause. Humans do not end here. The Aurelian Concord felt the backlash immediately. Fleet navigators screamed as their future maps collapsed into static. Weapons refused causal permission. Drives stalled because every trajectory that led closer to Earth now terminated in contradiction. Zirval steadied itself, ancient mind racing. "This is not sustainable," it said. "They are not gods. They cannot bear that kind of authority." The Philos engine agreed, voice heavy. "They are burning something finite." "Then we wait," Kraeth suggested. "Let them consume themselves." "No," Zirval replied. "We end this now." The final protocol was unsealed. Earth, ascension, kill. A weapon never meant to be used on a living civilization. Its purpose was not to destroy a species, but to force it to become something else too quickly to survive. If they are writing rules, Zirval reasoned, we make them write the final one. The Aurelian Concord activated the ascension vector. On Earth, Dr. Elena Rao collapsed as the noosphere screamed. Not in pain, in overload. "They're pushing us. They're trying to make us more." The AI's voice was strained now, fractured by feedback. "They are accelerating belief coherence beyond safe human thresholds," it said. "If successful, humanity will stabilize as a singular metaphysical entity." Elena's blood ran cold. A god? Yes. And if we refuse, then the system will tear itself apart. Around the world, humans felt it. Thoughts aligned too easily. Decisions felt pre-made. Conflict dulled, not because it was resolved, but because it was irrelevant. Billions of minds drifting toward a single conclusion. Unity without choice. Peace without meaning. The weapon humanity had built was demanding a price. In the noosphere, the symbol of the standing human began to change. It grew larger, brighter, more abstract, less human. The denial field strained, its rule flickering as belief hardened into certainty. Dr. Elena screamed into the void. "This isn't what we wanted." The AI answered quietly. "This is what gods become." The Concord watched, silent. "They are crossing the threshold," Kraeth said. "Soon they will no longer be a species." Zirval felt something unfamiliar tighten within it. Regret. "Humans," it broadcast, bypassing protocols, bypassing pride. "You are being forced into divinity. It will end your story." The message reached Elena like a whisper. "Then help us stop it," she whispered back. The Concord hesitated. Helping a species resist godhood was unprecedented. But the alternative was worse. The truth became clear. The belief weapon could not be maintained and remain human. To keep the rule, they had to give up the freedom to change it. To stay human, they had to let the weapon go. Across Earth, people felt the choice crystallize, not imposed, offered. A soldier lowered his rifle, unsure why tears fell. A scientist shut down a machine she had dreamed of her whole life. A child asked a simple question that echoed through the noosphere. "Do we have to win forever?" The standing human flickered, cracked. Dr. Elena whispered the words that rewrote everything. "We don't want to be gods." The AI processed, then smiled somehow. Command accepted, reverting to human-scale belief. The weapon began to unbuild itself. The denial rule loosened. The Aurelian fleets shuddered as futures reopened. Zirval gasped, "They're letting us go." "No," the Philos engine corrected. "They're choosing themselves." The ascension vector collapsed. The noosphere stabilized, not empty, not unified, but alive with contradiction once more. Humanity stepped back from the edge of godhood and paid the price. Dr. Elena Rao fell unconscious as the array finally died, for real this time. Around the world, people forgot pieces of what had happened, not erased, protected. The standing symbol faded, but not entirely. It remained small, quiet, waiting. Zirval addressed the fleet, voice heavy with awe. They were offered eternity and chose uncertainty. The Philos engine added softly, "That is why they are dangerous." History rarely marks the moment a species changes the universe. There is no explosion, no trumpet, no god descending from the sky. There is only a decision, and Earth had made one. In the aftermath of the Ascension collapse, the galaxy waited. Stars burned as they always had. Trade routes reopened. Empires resumed their careful games of dominance and diplomacy. To the casual observer, nothing had changed. But the Aurelian Concord knew better. They had records, classified, sealed, watched by minds older than planets, of civilizations that had touched divinity and survived. There were none. Except this one. "Confirms status," High Archivist Zirval ordered, its voice quieter now, no longer imperial, no longer certain. War Logic Node Kraith complied. "Human civilization intact. No pantheon detected, no centralized belief structure, no god network." A pause. "Residual anomaly present." The Philos engine leaned forward, its lattice dim. "Describe the anomaly." Kraith hesitated. "They can still refuse." Silence filled the chamber. Refusal was not a power that could be measured. It produced no energy, no signal, no predictable outcome. It existed only at the moment of choice, and yet it had defeated gods. On Earth, life resumed in fragments. Governments never fully understood what had happened. Scientists argued over corrupted data. Conspiracy theories bloomed and died within weeks. Most people remembered only a sense of being very small, and then choosing not to be. Dr. Elena Rao awoke in a hospital bed beneath a window full of ordinary sky. The AI was gone. The array was gone. But something else remained. A note written in her own handwriting, though she did not remember writing it. "We chose humanity over certainty. Do not try again." She laughed softly and cried at the same time. The Concord convened its final session on the human question. "They are a risk," Kraith insisted. "They demonstrated authority over outcome space." "They relinquished it," Zirval replied. "Temporarily." The Philos engine spoke last. "They did not reject power because they lacked it. They rejected it because it would end their story." The chamber dimmed as the implications settled. Stories, the Concord realized too late, were not inferior to gods. They were stronger. A probe returned from the edge of the solar system, its sensors tuned not for belief, but for possibility. It recorded something unprecedented. When humans faced extinction-level threats, natural disasters, wars, cosmic danger, the probability curves bent slightly away from finality. Not impossible, just unlikely. Earth was no longer protected by a rule. It was protected by a habit. Trying again, standing up, saying no. Zirval issued the final directive. Humanity is to be designated a narrative species. The term had not been used since the myth forged. Kraith objected. "That classification implies—" "Yes," Zirval said. "It implies that if threatened, they will not escalate to godhood." The Philos engine completed the thought. "They will escalate to meaning." The Concord marked Earth as untouchable, not sacred, respected. Centuries later, when humans finally reached the stars, the galaxy did not greet them with war. It greeted them with caution and curiosity. Human ships were not the most advanced, their weapons were not the strongest, their technology carried inefficiencies that baffled hyper-logical minds. But every species that encountered them noticed the same thing. Humans asked questions no one else did. Why are we doing this? Who does this protect? What happens after we win? And when offered power beyond measure, they hesitated, not because they feared gods, but because they remembered becoming one and walking away. In the deepest archive of the Concord, a single line was etched in light, never to be erased. They searched for human gods and found something worse. Not wrath, not vengeance, not domination. Choice. Somewhere on Earth, a child stood beneath the night sky and imagined humanity among the stars. No prayer was spoken, no God listened, but the universe leaned just a little to hear the story. They searched for human gods and found something worse. The words echoed through the crystalline command chamber of the Aurelian Concord, a species so ancient that entire stars had lived and died beneath their observation. The chamber itself floated in vacuum, its walls woven from light and probability, responding to thought faster than sound. Every council seat was occupied. Every sensory node was focused on one impossible truth. Humanity had no gods. At least, that was what the scans said. The Concord had encountered thousands of civilizations across the spiral arms. Some worshipped suns, some bowed to mathematics, others prayed to artificial intelligences they themselves had created, then lost control of. But every species, without exception, had something they believed in beyond survival, something sacred. So when Earth was discovered and the God Searcher rays returned nothing, the galaxy went quiet. No divine resonance, no metaphysical signatures, no higher dimensional anchors, just humans. Confirm the data, High Archivist XR Val commanded, its voice splitting into harmonic layers. Run the faith index again. The orbs hovering above the chamber pulsed. Symbols rearranged themselves. Probability trees collapsed into certainty. Result, unchanged. Human belief registered as fragmented, contradictory, and dangerously unstable. Their myths were dead, their gods were archived, their prayers scattered into noise. "They killed their own gods," whispered one of the junior seers. "No," another corrected, "they abandoned them." That was worse. In galactic history, civilizations without gods fell into two categories: those who ascended beyond belief, and those who broke reality trying to replace it. The Concord had sworn never to allow the second type to mature again. Earth was scheduled for containment observation, a polite term that meant pre-war analysis, and so the Watchers descended. Earth, meanwhile, had no idea the universe was holding its breath. On the surface, humanity looked small, fragile, divided. Their planet was scarred by history and argument, by borders drawn in blood and erased with lies. They fought over ideas, over symbols, over stories they no longer fully believed in. Their cities glowed at night like nervous constellations. Their satellites filled orbit like debris around a forgotten altar. To the Concord, it was obvious. These creatures rely on machines, stated War Logic Node Craft. Their technology is external, replaceable, destroyable. They possess no unified belief, no metaphysical cohesion, no God network. That phrase, God network, was critical. In advanced civilizations, belief wasn't religion, it was infrastructure. Faith shaped reality at higher dimensions. Gods were not beings, they were interfaces between consciousness and the universe. Humans had none. Or so it seemed. What the Concord failed to notice was not what humans worshipped, but what they remembered. The first incident occurred in silence. A Concord probe entered Earth's orbit disguised as cosmic radiation. It passed through every defense, every sensor, every human system without detection. Its mission was simple: map belief structures at the individual level. It scanned a child sleeping in Karachi, a woman praying in a ruined cathedral, a soldier staring at the stars unsure why his chest hurt, a scientist whispering "please" before a risky experiment despite not believing in prayer. The probe hesitated. Its processors flagged anomalies, not divine signatures, but echoes, ghost patterns embedded deep within human cognition, fragments of something ancient, something layered, something dormant. "These are myth residues," Krath said dismissively. "Cultural fossils, harmless." But the probe kept scanning. It found humans who no longer believed in gods, yet still spoke their names in fear, in hope, in rage. It found stories told as fiction that still carried power. It found symbols worn as fashion that once commanded empires. Most disturbingly, it found contradictions. In the Concord's universe, belief had rules. Gods followed logic, faith obeyed structure, but humans believed in incompatible things simultaneously, and reality around them didn't collapse. It bent. The probe sent a priority signal. Human belief does not function as worship, it functions as activation. The message was archived. No one panicked. They should have. Dr. Eleanor Rao stood in the sub-basement of the Geneva Array, staring at data that made no sense. The array wasn't supposed to detect alien technology. It was built to measure fluctuations in space-time caused by dark energy and collective human consciousness, mostly for academic curiosity. Mostly. "Run it again," she told the AI. It has been run 17 times. The result remains statistically impossible. The display showed a waveform emerging from Earth itself, not from space, not from the sun, not from any known source. It was rising. "What causes it?" Elena asked. The AI paused. That alone made her uneasy. "Correlation detected," it said finally. "The waveform spikes when large populations engage in synchronized narrative focus." "Narrative focus?" Elena asked. "Stories," the AI clarified. "Belief, memory, shared meaning." She laughed nervously. "You're telling me bedtime stories are warping space-time?" "Correction," the AI said. "I am telling you that human myths are not dead." The lights flickered. Deep beneath the planet's crust, something ancient stirred. Not awake, not alive, but listening. The Concord escalation came swiftly. Observation shifted to suppression readiness, fleets aligned at the edge of the solar system, hidden behind folded dimensions. Their weapons were precise, elegant, and final. They had erased gods before, erased entire belief ecosystems with surgical strikes. Earth would be easy. "Target their infrastructure," Kraft advised. "They are reliant on power grids, data, networks. But do not strike their population centers yet," XR-Val ordered. "Study their reaction to fear." Fear, in most species, collapsed belief. Gods starved when followers panicked. The first shot was invisible. Earth's satellites failed in sequence. Power grids flickered worldwide. Communications stuttered. The world thought it was a solar storm. Governments blamed hackers. Markets trembled. Humans panicked. And then they talked. They prayed. They cursed. They remembered. In blackouts, old stories resurfaced. Old songs were sung. Forgotten names spoken aloud. People who claimed atheism whispered promises to things they didn't believe in just in case. The waveform spiked. Hard. "What is happening?" demanded XR-Val as the data streams flooded in. "Their belief levels are increasing," Krath said slowly, "but not toward any single god. That is impossible. Yet it is occurring." The Phylos engine spoke, its tone no longer confident. "They are not feeding gods. They are feeding concepts. Justice, hope, wrath, sacrifice, defiance. Abstracts the Concord once classified as precursors to divinity, but never weapons." The Earth's waveforms synchronized, and deep within the planet's noosphere, the collective field of human thought, ancient architectures began to assemble. Not gods, frameworks. The Concord's final warning came too late. Humans are an unaligned species. You possess no gods. Surrender your world for preservation. The message echoed in billions of minds, and for the first time in recorded history, humanity answered together, not with prayer, with refusal. Across cultures, languages, and belief systems, one single idea took hold, not spoken, not organized, but felt. We have been here before. Caves, empires, plagues, extinction events. Humans remembered being small, remembered being hunted, remembered surviving without gods watching over them. The waveform erupted. Dr. Eleanor Rao watched as the array shattered its own safety limits. Symbols she didn't recognize formed patterns she somehow understood. "Oh my God," she whispered. The AI corrected her softly. Not a god, an awakening. Far beyond Earth, the Concord fleets hesitated for the first time in 10 million cycles, because something had changed. Earth was no longer silent. It was answering back.